Hey, Matthew from the future here. This is going to be kind of a weird episode. Only two of us, and we do it a double episode, just Dewey and I. Later in the episode, we will mention that we were going to bring Jack on at a later date to talk about the Bills game. Unfortunately, due to schedules, we couldn't make that happen. So, I don't know, maybe we'll talk about that more on a later episode, but unfortunately, we couldn't do that. Also, by the time you're hearing this, I'm going to be on my way to Tulsa. So this is going to be the only episode for the next 2 weeks. So when I'm back, we'll do another double episode, and then hopefully we'll be back into the normal swing of things after that. But anyway, here's Oofsides. Enjoy.
So you got a flag down.
Side.
Everyone but the center. Offense.
Welcome to Oofsides, presented by Brody Croyle. I am Brooks Bollinger.
And I am Bruce Gradkowski.
Hell yeah. And just a two-man show this week. Jack and Steven couldn't be here. And of course, you know, half the people, twice the games to talk about. So that's always fun.
Funny how that works.
But luckily here on Oofsides, we have a totally original format that we didn't pull from anybody else to get you caught up on the week that we missed, which was week 10. So let's get right into it. Starting with Thursday night football in Pittsburgh, where Will Levis and the Tennessee Titans stormed into Pittsburgh in a okay game where a late interception by Will Levis sealed a 20-16 Steelers win. Steelers gone to Super Bowl.
Are they? Well, we'll find out more about that this week.
Allegedly.
So the Dolphins and Chiefs played in Germany. The Dolphins are good, or not good, and then they were, and then they weren't again, and the Chiefs won 21-14.
Lost the game on a botched snap on fourth
Yeah,
down.
that one was... Ugh.
Then we head to New Orleans, the Big Easy, where Tyson Bagent and the Bears turned the ball over 5 times and still only lost by a score to the vaunted Saints offense. Saints win 24-17.
The Packers beat the Rams 20-3. I don't really know what else to say here.
Brett Rippon was the quarterback.
He is no longer on their roster.
Yeah. Then in New England, the Commies topped the Patriots as they win the Cold War 20-17.
That was a tough one there. And then the Seahawks did something that they haven't done all year, and that was look like complete fucking shit as the Ravens dismantled them 37-3. Wow. A lot of wow.
Then we moved to Houston for the offensive shootout that nobody saw coming. The Buccaneers scored with under a minute left to take a 37-31 or 30. What was it? I can't remember. The Texans had a running back kick a field goal because they lost their kicker, and then CJ Stroud drove them down the field in a matter of seconds to win 39-37, set the rookie record for passing yards in a single game, I might add.
The formerly Josh Dobbs Browns beat the formerly Josh Dobbs Cardinals 27-0. It was the first time the Browns have recorded a shutout win in 251 games back to Week 15 in 2007.
Speaking of Josh Dobbs, and they say that a QB can save us without even knowing the play.
My God.
And Josh Dobbs is throwing a touchdown, winning the Vikings the game. Vikings 31, Falcons 28.
Oh my fucking God. The Frank Reich revenge game did not go very well for him as the Panthers lost 27-13 to the formerly Baltimore Colts. It is not looking good in Carolina right now.
It's looking much better in Las Vegas, though, as now freed from the shackles of Josh McDaniels. The Raiders put an ass whooping on the Giants, 30-6.
Yeah, Antonio Pierce looking like a potential permanent head coach over there. And well, not finally, but the NFC East had its big showdown of the year. Cowboys at Eagles. Round 1 goes to the Birds. Eagles win 28-23.
I want to die. Then on Sunday night, a rematch of the playoff game and the now infamous Damar Hamlin Bowl. This time it was the Bengals coming out on top, 24-18.
And then lastly, on Monday night, the Jets, could we please stop putting them on Monday night, lost to the Chargers, 27-6. And that was your abbreviated Week 10.
So a couple comments. First off, the first song ended literally in perfect timing.
That worked out really well.
I cannot believe it ended right when I needed to transition into the Josh Dobbs sound drop. I want to talk about that game real quick, though, because Dobbs got traded to the Vikings right before the trade deadline after Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles. And oh my god, I am drawing a blank on the name of the guy who started.
The guy that started was Jaron Hall. He was the rookie
right, yes.
out of BYU. And like, what was it, like the second or third drive in the first quarter, he got concussed and had to come out of the game.
Yeah. And so then Josh Dobbs, who didn't know the playbook, didn't even know the cadence of how to snap the ball, had to be taught that on the sideline by the center. And
he
had
didn't even
to
know
have
any of everybody's names yet.
Yeah, and had to have all of the plays. Basically, O'Connell would call a play and say, "This is what you say," and then explain to him what all of the route combinations were. So he was basically translating all of his plays on the fly, and he proceeded to go 23 of 34 for 268 yards, threw for a touchdown, and also ran for one. And won 27-19.
And granted, he fumbled the ball 3 times and lost it twice, but still, what the hell? That is probably still one of the most impressive quarterback performances I've ever seen.
He took
going in blind, basically.
What Baker Mayfield did last year for the Rams and was like, "Oh, I'll do one better."
And of course, the Vikings have just done something unimaginable to the injury gods because they lost Cam Akers for the year to a torn Achilles in this game too.
Oh my god.
So, yeah.
Yeah, not the most lucky. Well, it's weird. It's lucky and it's not lucky because, as we'll get to, they've now won 5 in a row and are right back into the playoff picture.
Somehow.
And yeah, and Josh Dobbs is killing it already.
We could have Josh Dobbs replacing a starter in Week 18 with a playoff spot on the line for 2 different teams in 2 straight years.
Yeah. Also, Buccaneers Texans briefly mentioned that this was the "Do you want to be part of the rest of the season" bowl, and this is another one of those games where it was like, wow, Baker's having like one of the best games of his career, and it just so happened that C.J. Stroud threw for 470 yards and 5 touchdowns in that same game.
Just gonna say it now. If the Texans make the playoffs, I don't think it's ridiculous to give C.J. Stroud the MVP as a rookie.
I was kind of thinking that. I was like, you know what? Who's been more valuable? He's thrown 2 interceptions on the season. C.J. Stroud is like not only having the greatest rookie season in NFL history, he's just having a genuinely great season.
And worth noting, you mentioned in the bit that Derek Ngumbawale kicked that field goal after the injury to Kimi Fairbairn. He is the first non-kicker or punter to hit a field goal in a game since Wes Welker in 2004. And that was before he was on the Patriots. He was in Miami then.
Oh my gosh.
The Dave Wannstedt-led Dolphins.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, this was a game where the Bucks jumped out to a, 26-10 lead, and then the Texans just like chipped their way back into it, and the Bucks scored with literally like 45 seconds left. And then C.J. Stroud got the ball back and was like, no big deal, and just went right down the field, game-winning touchdown. Just an absolutely nuts game.
2 touchdowns in the last 46 seconds of the game.
Yeah. Just
It
absurd.
felt like the Bills-Chiefs playoff game from 2 years ago.
It really did, yeah.
It had that, like, playoff vibe to it, even though these are 2 teams right now that you're probably not associating with the playoffs. It certainly had that feel, though.
Yeah. A couple other notes from that week. Daniel Jones suffered a pretty bad knee injury where he like tripped over a teammate in the pocket and hurt it. Or no, that was a play before that. He basically like stepped to throw and kind of like planted weird, hurt his knee and went down. Tried to
Fully
stay in for
buckled
another
on the next
play.
one, yeah.
Yeah, and then buckled and hit the ground on the next one, and it was like, yep, he's done. So I believe it was a
Torn
torn
ACL,
ACL.
bye-bye.
Right? Yep.
And they had to put Tyrod Taylor on IR, too, because of his rib injury. So they're starting Tommy DeVito likely for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's not looking good over there.
And one other thing, too, Martavis Bryant's back. He signed to the Cowboys practice squad last week. He hasn't played in the NFL since 2018 when he was on the Raiders. He's been suspended like 3 or 4 times. I think he was in the CFL for a bit. But now all of a sudden, given an injury to one of the Cowboys receivers, you might see Martavis Bryant back on an NFL field again.
That is such a Cowboys signing.
It really is.
Because they did the
That was
same
my
thing.
first thought was, this fits so unbelievably well.
Yeah, because they did the same thing with Alden Smith, I think it was last year, where he hadn't played in the league in like 4 or 5 years, and they signed him, and he was great, and then he got into more trouble again, and it was like,
Didn't they sign Greg Hardy too after what he did?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I swear he was on the Cowboys at some point.
He might have been on. No, I think he was on the Cowboys when that happened. Yeah. Let's see. No, it was after that. Yeah. Yeah, because he got let go by the Panthers.
Oh, the Panthers,
so.
yeah.
So. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then also the Cowboys, as they always do, speaking of them, had like 3 chances to win the game at the end of the game and didn't do it because the Eagles kept trying to give it back to them. They got stopped on on the goal line on a 4th down on what, if the ball moves forward 3 inches, it's a touchdown. The next trip into the red zone, they score the touchdown. And Dak scrambles for the 2-point conversion and steps out of bounds right before the goal line, so that doesn't count, which means they're down 5. And so on their next 2 drives, when they drive down into field goal range, they have to go for it instead of kicking a field goal. And on the final play, Dak threw not even a Hail Mary, just like a 20-yard throw shy of the end zone, and CeeDee Lamb caught it and then just got swarmed, and they lost. And that's Cowboys football, baby.
Well, don't worry, because this week went way, way better for them.
Yeah. So
the ship was righted for now.
Yeah. God, I can't wait to talk about that game because there's a stat from it that I love.
There is a lot in that game to digest.
Yeah. Might as well, though, get into the Week 10 games. I might have just said that the week that we speed ran was Week 10. That was Week 9. I'm an idiot. Ignore me.
Unreal.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Where it started on Thursday, where don't you just love a primetime game between a 1-7 team and a 2-7 team? Because we got Panthers Bears. And
the scheduling keeps getting worse, and I wish they would make it so more games can be flexed because wow.
This is one of those games where I'm like, what were they thinking by I guess they thought that the Panthers, who were frisky last year, were going to be better, and that the Bears, it was like, well, they can't be much worse. And it's like, well,
I think the Bears have bottomed out already, and they're slowly, very, very slowly starting to at least attempt to get back up.
Yeah. And if you're the Bears, this is, by the way, they won 16-13 over the Panthers. I can't remember if I stated that enough. This is the ideal outcome because the Panthers currently have the first overall pick, which belongs to the Bears. And the Bears are 5th in the order right now because of tiebreakers. So they're like, okay, well, if we beat the Panthers, we're just cementing having the first overall pick again. So that trade is definitely paying off because good God, do the Panthers look terrible. And Bryce Young has had moments this year, but they are drying up. because this was bad.
Very, very bad. Worth noting as well in this game, the Panthers managed to only get 43 rushing yards from 4 different running backs. Miles Sanders accounted for -5 of them.
Yeah, there's just like there's nothing around CJ Stroud right now. This is or not CJ Stroud, sorry, Bryce Young.
The
It
Panthers' leading receiver in this game was Mike Strachan.
who?
He had 1 reception for 45 yards, and that was more than any other Panthers player. Let's see, who is this? He was a 7th round pick in 2021 from the University of Charleston in West Virginia, who is a Division II school, and he is one of only 4 NFL players to have ever been born in the Bahamas.
Huh.
Wow.
That's cool.
All right.
I do like that his Wikipedia page says not to be confused with Michael Strahan because it's only a 1-letter difference. But yeah, I mean that just perfectly sums up the lack of talent on this team. Like Chuba Hubbard last year was like surprising that, they traded away Christian McCaffrey and it was like, oh, this guy's pretty good too. And like Miles Sanders was cast off from the Eagles and it's like
and it's like they're getting the worst version of both of them now.
Yeah. This whole offense is just other teams' hand-me-downs, right? Like Adam Thielen, great receiver, but like the Vikings got rid of him for a reason, Hayden Hurst, pretty good tight end, but there's a reason he's not on the Ravens anymore.
Well, to be fair to Adam Thielen, he actually had a solid game when Andy Dalton was playing.
Yeah.
Like, I think Thielen just didn't quite fit the Vikings system anymore, but he's still a very talented and capable wide receiver that just doesn't look the part right now because everybody around him isn't looking the part.
Yeah. A big part, too, is, like, their O-line has been just abysmal. Like, Frank Reich's play calling has not gone well.
More on that later.
No, he handed off play calling, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
This was the offensive coordinator's, I think, 3rd game calling plays.
Yeah. This is Eddie Pinheiro also. Yeah, we got to talk about the ending of this game because it was a 4th and 10 at midfield. Bears are up 16-13 and the Panthers elected to try kicking a 59-yarder in Chicago on a very cold, windy night. And Eddie Pinheiro's career long is like 52 yards, I think, and they lined him up to kick 59, and he missed it. And then, if you haven't seen the sideline camera, you see him just turn to the sideline and kind of like shrug, like, I don't know what you guys expected. Like, because instead of letting putting it on the shoulders of his first overall pick quarterback, who admittedly has struggled, but like, you asked your kicker to do something even more difficult. So.
Oh, and speaking of other teams' hand-me-downs, former Chicago Bear, Eddie Pinheiro.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yep. DJ Moore did get his revenge game, though.
Led the Bears in receiving.
Yeah, 58 yards. Tyson Bagent was okay.
Did what he had to do.
Yeah, he hasn't turned... I mean, like what I was mentioning, they turned the ball over 5 times. I think he had 3 picks last week, or the week before that, but also had fumbles. Yeah, 3 picks, and then 2 fumbles as well by the team.
0 in this game, though, which is encouraging.
Yeah. Which, in a 3-point game, extremely important. So
even one of those, this game probably goes to Carolina.
Yeah.
But, wow. Ugh.
But yeah, so things are not looking good in Carolina. Honestly, not that I'm wishing it upon him, because I like Frank Reich, but don't think this is going to last very long.
Yeah, no. I think they'll let him start next year, but if they start like this next year, I think they're going to cut it then.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too, that's most shocking about the Panthers, is like, the only reason they made the move they made is, you're trying to get your quarterback of the future. but you don't trade away that many picks if you don't think that, you're in a good spot. The Panthers traded, I can't even remember how many first round picks to get Bryce Young.
I think it was 2 firsts and then like DJ Moore and a couple of late rounders or something.
Yeah, and they've gotten significantly worse. Like, they were a solid, frisky team last year that almost won the NFC South. It was a bad NFC South. They still won 6 games, So, things are bad in Carolina.
The picks were number 9 overall this year, who I think the Bears took an offensive tackle with. Oh, no, they traded that pick to the Eagles. That's what they did.
Yeah.
And the Bears picked Darnell Wright at number 10 after the Eagles trade. So a potential Pro Bowl tackle they got from this year's pick. The first round pick next year, which as of right now looks like it's going to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Let's see. A second round pick this year and a second round pick in 2025 and then DJ Moore.
Yeah. And that's the
so
thing
it was
too,
2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a Pro Bowl wide receiver potentially.
Yeah, and that's the thing too that makes it more confusing is like this year's draft coming up is the one that everybody says has generational QB talent in it. Like people were high on Bryce Young, but not as high as they are on Caleb Williams.
But here's the thing with that too, like if the Bears are this committed to Justin Fields, they could trade that number 1 pick again to somebody that needs a quarterback like Caleb Williams and get even more draft capital to further build their team next year in 26.
Yeah, that is the
like this could be
thing.
the gift that keeps on giving for the Bears.
Yeah, because I wonder if they're gonna that's the big question. I mean, as we'll mention, Justin Fields is back in the starting lineup starting this week. The back half of this year is Justin Fields trying out to remain with the Bears, right?
Pretty much.
So, God, I did not expect us to talk this much about Panthers Bears.
I mean, it's a pretty important thing. Or could change a lot of different things.
So, yeah, and that was Panthers Bears. Let's head over to Germany, where the Colts and Patriots played.
Football played them.
15 years ago, this was Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. This year, it was Gardner Minshew versus Mac Jones. And boy, was it ugly.
So for those that slept through the game like I did, the final score was 10-6, by the way.
Yeah, remember earlier this year when I said that Gardner Minshew was going to be a very rich man after this year?
Remember when at the beginning of the year I said the Patriots could make the wild card round?
Yeah.
Boy, were we wrong.
Man. Yeah, and
so
to be fair, Gardner Minshew wasn't even that bad this game, but this was just bad all around.
I'm just happy I slept through this because Jesus Christ, it was wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of what happened. I went back and, watched some highlights and everything, but what I can tell you is that I don't think Mac Jones should be starting the rest of the season at this point.
No, and I honestly, okay, here's the tough thing.
I mean, that red zone pick was absolutely fucking hideous. Yeah, that might be one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen.
So here's the best part about this, right? So everybody last year was talking about how Bailey Zappi is just the same exact quarterback as Mac Jones. And Mac threw one of the ugliest interceptions I've ever seen into triple coverage down in the red zone. And they benched him to put in Bailey Zappi essentially on a 2-minute drive, which I've never seen that before.
This was even more confusing part.
Yeah, you're in the game now.
If you're going to bench a guy, why do you wait until you're down by 4 with 2 minutes left and you throw him in there like hello?
Yeah. I think that was just Bill Belichick throwing a tantrum with his team, to Robert Kraft, this is what I have to work with right now. Come on.
I mean, that. He might as well start Will Grier this week.
Yeah, and so he puts...
Genuinely, I would rather see Will Grier. Just let him out there and say, hey, he's been this third-string guy his whole career. Let him go out there and play and see if he's got anything that's better than this.
It's not like it's going to get worse. Yeah.
I mean,
but they put in Bailey Zappi, And they march down the field, and they get the 4th and 1 conversion with the clock running, and Zappy pulls off a fake spike and then throws basically the exact same interception into triple coverage. Like, this is how bad it was. Is I woke up and I saw the highlight of Mac Jones' interception, right? And I was like, oh, that was bad. And then later I saw the highlight of Bailey Zappi, and I thought it was the same exact play. And I didn't even realize that it was 2 different quarterbacks.
Yeah, and it was weird too because they interviewed Bailey Zappi after the game, like the local Boston media did, and I can't remember what the exact question was. I think they asked him something about just being thrown in the game like that, and he responded with, "I can't say what I want to say."
I did see that, yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, like, oh."
Dude, the Patriots their coaching staff is a mess right now.
I don't get it. Like obviously Bill Belichick is a great coach. If you want to sit here and debate that it was more Brady than Belichick, that's fine. If you want to do that, I don't give a fuck. Maybe you have a point. But
In the end,
there's
it's
a
still the
reason
two
why
of them,
Bill
though. Yeah.
Belichick wasn't fired in the 10 years between the 2004 Super Bowl and the 2014 Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because each of those teams, every one of those years, maybe except for 2009, was good enough to win a Super Bowl that entire time period. And there's a reason why Robert Kraft never fired Belichick in that time frame. He knew that he was still a good enough coach to figure it out and get it done, and ended up winning 3 more rings out of it. But something in the last 2 years has just completely broken anybody and everything inside that fucking building, and I don't get it.
So I remember too, because after Mac's rookie year, that was when Josh McDaniels left.
Yep.
And the narrative around it when they changed the offense was still Brady's offense, and it was an extremely complicated offense that they weren't using to its full potential. Which, like, it showed because they were smashing people down the stretch of that season.
Yeah, they were.
And they tried starting over from scratch, and the offense has continued to regress consistently, which will be a trend that we'll talk about with another team. But, like, I don't know what the answer is, because Bill O'Brien's not fixing it. Mac Jones looks like a broken quarterback. Bailey Zappi looks just as messy in his limited appearances. Like, and you can just tell by Bill Belichick's face every time they show him that he is just, like, besides himself. Like, it's unbelievable.
He looks fed
how
up with
far
everything.
Yeah, he really does. You know, there's been the rumor of, like, oh, is Belichick gonna get fired? I was like, he might just quit at this rate.
I was gonna say, like, I can't see a situation where he actually, like, at this point, at his age and with Robert Kraft's age, I can't see a situation, I've said this before, that Belichick actually gets fired. If Robert Kraft wants Belichick on, he'll probably calmly walk into his office and say, hey, I think it's time to move on. Why don't we frame this as, you retiring because you're old enough where it makes sense, or something like that. There is not going to be a public firing to end this tenure unless he goes and commits like a fucking federal crime tomorrow.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing too is well, I was gonna say, Belichick can look at it and be like, look, we got no talent, but Belichick's also the GM. So
Belichick
one of
the
those
coach,
tricky.
great. Belichick the GM, not much better than Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, it's not gone well.
I think he is very good at finding diamonds in the rough that other teams have passed on and don't want anything to do with anymore. But he's never really been that good at evaluating top-end draft talent.
No.
There have been some good picks, don't get me wrong, but I think in the first couple of rounds there's been some more misses than there have been makes, especially in the last couple of years. And at this point, it's turning from, your entire body of work to what have you done for me lately? And what he's done for the Patriots lately is not much good.
Yeah, immediately coming to mind is when they took N'Keal Harry in the first round and took him ahead of Deebo Samuel. And
That was A.J. Brown, Metcalf.
Yeah.
There were like 5 or 6 guys in that draft, and they got the one that didn't pan out.
Yep.
And
even McCall Hardman, would have been a better pick.
And speaking of that, by the way, Demario Douglas looks to be a fantastic pick so far. He was picked in the 6th round this year, and with Kendrick Bourne out for the year, he's basically been, I think, their number one guy the last 2 weeks because Juju's been hurt. He looks great. He looks like he could be a Pro Bowl wide receiver in a couple years, given the right quarterback and the right offensive system. But they picked Kayshon Boutte from LSU in the 7th round after him, and he was an inactive, healthy scratch for the 2nd week in a row for Jalen Reagor.
Ugh.
Why?
Ugh. That's bad.
And
Oh.
Jalen Reagor, not this week, but last week in the Washington game, had that big drop on the final drive when they were trying to get the field goal to tie the game. And it's like, well, why the fuck did you have him out there to begin with? There's a reason why the Eagles don't have him anymore. There's a reason why the Vikings don't have him anymore. He just isn't cut out for the league, and you keep scratching this guy that is trying to prove he belongs for a guy that's proven he doesn't belong.
For reference, Jalen Reagor was taken 1 pick before Justin Jefferson. So
Yeah.
yeesh.
Which says a lot
yeah.
about the Eagles that they whiffed that bad and they still have a team this good.
Yep.
That they were able to recover from it that quickly.
Yeah.
But the Patriots are just lacking so much talent in so many different areas that if you miss on a pick like that, it's going to set you back a while, and it's really starting to pile up now. And so they're 2-8.
Yep. It's bad. It's very, very bad.
At this point, with Kyler Murray back for the Cardinals, they might go on a little bit of a run to end the season, maybe win a handful of games. Looking like this is going to be a top 3 pick for the Patriots next year. And the last time they had one of those was when they picked Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah, and I don't really see what the path to get better is, unfortunately. So
I don't know. It might be a long road ahead though before they get back there. But the Colts, the Colts are treading water without Richardson at least, so they could still make the playoffs somehow. They look like they know what they're doing. I think they just got lucky that their bad game was against a really bad team.
Yeah, we got to mention also the Patriots Pat statting before half. That was really funny.
Yes, it was.
Instead of throwing a Hail Mary, they just threw a screen pass to pick up 20 yards and then go into halftime. Which, again, I think it was just Belichick throwing a tantrum. Like, fuck this shit. I don't want to have to play football anymore.
God.
Oh, my gosh. So, the Colts are now 5-5. The Patriots fall to 2-8.
Yep, the worst record in the AFC. Help me.
Yeah. Another AFC rivalry matchup. The Browns and Ravens put on a goddamn thriller. It started out bad. Deshaun Watson threw a pick 6 on like the first play from scrimmage. And it did not go much better for them in the first half, or in the first quarter, really. They were down 17-3. And then, as the Ravens do, they kind of folded in the fourth quarter, as they always do. And the Browns chipped their way back into it and eventually kicked a game-winning field goal, one of 5 this week, to win 33-31 in a pretty crazy comeback to advance the Browns to 6-3. Does not feel real. Oh, I can't speak right now. Does not feel real to say that the Browns are 6-3.
I'd love to ask Art Modell for his opinions on this game.
Dude, he is seething in hell right now.
Well, give it a while. Deshaun Watson might join him there. Who knows?
Oh no. Dude,
more on him later, by the way.
Yeah, this is the thing the Ravens they did this last year too, where like Lamar was playing like an MVP for 3 quarters basically every game, and then they would just fold in the fourth quarter. And this is the thing that's concerning about the Ravens is they are extremely good. Their defense is good. Like this offense is awesome. They're just terrible in the red zone. Or no, sorry, they're not good outside the red zone. They're extremely good in the red zone. But then they do shit like this.
And that's granted, concerning. It was to a talented team, but at the end of the day, you don't want to be giving up a lead like that to anybody at any time.
Yeah, especially with a team like the Ravens, who with their, I know they're not as rushing centric as they have been in the past, but like this is still a team that can run the ball down your throat, and like this is a game that you have to close out.
It certainly doesn't help that they've been missing J.K. Dobbins all season, but just because he's out doesn't mean that you all of a sudden lose the ability to close out a game like this by pounding the rock. I mean, Gus Edwards has shown multiple times this year that he's capable of that. He had a touchdown against the Browns, and that was his 7th touchdown in the last 4 games he's played. Like, I don't know why they didn't run the ball with him more in this game. Keaton Mitchell had a really great breakout game against Seattle last week. Don't know why they didn't play him more. They just kind of fell apart. And speaking of pick sixes, Lamar had a pretty bad one too at the close of this game that brought the Browns right back into it.
Yeah, this is another one of those games too where Myles Garrett was like, "I'm gonna win the game now."
He might actually, like, it's rare, I think, for defensive players to win MVP, and Myles Garrett isn't always going to put up the stats that will tell you that a defensive player should win the MVP, but good luck finding another player in the NFL that impacts the game as much as Myles Garrett does.
I'm pretty sure he's leading the league in sacks right now. Like, this is the one season where he is putting up those gaudy numbers. But yeah, like you said, if you could make a statistic for game-changing plays, like Myles Garrett would be right at the top.
Like, it is actually insane how much he means to this team. Like, not just the defense, but the entire team. Because even if the offense is struggling, if you have a good defense, you're more likely to give the offense another chance to get its shit together and go down and score. But if you have a bad defense, the offense will be just sitting on the sideline for forever and ever. They won't get those extra chances. And Deshaun Watson had that awful first half, and the Browns defense got him right back into it. And just like that, Deshaun Watson found a groove, went and did it with a fractured shoulder, by the way. Like, he broke a bone in his fucking shoulder in this game and still went out and led them to a win because the defense allowed them to get back into it.
There was a stat at one point where he was, I think, 1 of 9 for 18 yards and an interception. It was bad. His first half was about as bad of a half of football you can play, and then he was basically perfect in the second half. This is one of the, I mean, we're starting to see it more and more as the old Deshaun Watson is starting to show up more. But unfortunately, that's probably going to be the last of it because, as you mentioned, he had a shoulder injury in this game, and it has been season-ending. So
yep. So that old Deshaun Watson will have to wait until 2024 to show itself again.
Yep.
So now the 6-3 Browns are without their star quarterback for the rest of the year, and they're going to have to rely on either Dorian Thompson-Robinson or PJ Walker to get them to the playoffs. And worth noting as well that their backup quarterback behind Deshaun Watson in training camp was none other than Josh Dobbs.
Oh, babe.
I'm sure they would love to have him right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of those two teams, by the way, Myles Garrett and Danielle Hunter of the Vikings are both leading the league at 11 sacks. And I think, was it 24, I think would be the record? So
I think it's like 23.
Yeah.
I think Watt tied it last year. It was like 22 and a half, I want to say. So I think 23 would break it. But they're there through 9 games. That's doable.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's halfway. Yeah, 22 and a half sacks, Michael Strahan. And TJ Watt, yes. So, I mean, on this pace, Myles Garrett is on track for 22. So, it's doable. So, we'll see.
Never say never.
Yeah, but the Browns are now 6-3. The Ravens fall to 7-3. We'll go on to the Steelers. Somehow are also 6-3. If you were to ask me,
23-19.
Yeah, if you were to ask me what the Steelers were, I would have said like 4-5. No, they're 6-3.
And they were outgained again.
Yeah, as they do. Just
what the fuck?
What are the Steelers like? What
they can't keep getting away with this.
It's so. I just gotta play this. Hang on.
I would also like to point out that not only were the I want to point out too that not only were the Steelers outgained in this game by the Packers, the Patriots put up more total yards this week than the Steelers did.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, they were 4 of 13 on third downs.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But yet, somehow, they won, and that glimpse of good we saw from Jordan Love at the beginning of the year seems to be fading further and further away.
Yep. 2 back-breaking interceptions in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know if the Packers are a bad roster because I mean Rodgers was kind of mediocre last year in this team, so who knows? I don't know if it's Love or the team or both or neither or what the deal is, but yeah, it's been bad recently.
The thing with the Packers is I think their receiving core is solid. The problem is they're all young like Jordan Love is, and they're all basically trying to find their footing in the league still and figure out what works for them and what doesn't. So to me it almost isn't surprising that you're seeing these growing pains, even though for a team like the Packers who really aren't used to that, maybe they should have expected at least for this year. Like I think Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, they're all I think their ceiling is at least a Pro Bowl, but they're all so young in their first or second season that they're still trying to establish themselves as NFL talent.
Yeah.
And with a quarterback that's trying to do the same thing, there's bound to be growing pains.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was looking at, just for comparison, the 2008 Packers, which was Rodgers' first season. They were 6-10, so kind of the same trajectory. So we'll see.
They at least that year though had like Donald Driver and Jermichael Finley at the top of their receiving core.
Yeah, there was
there were some
definitely
established guys on that team.
There's a lot more promise or they looked more promising. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this team is they are exiting obviously the playoff picture. But at this point, you're just hoping to see something out of Jordan Love. But the problem is they went into the season expecting to pick up where they left off, and this is not what they're doing.
What blows my mind too is if you have all of this growing pain with your quarterback and your receivers and your tight ends, why would you not rely more on your Pro Bowl, All-Pro running back to help fill the gaps you have on offense?
Yeah, that has been the weirdest.
Why did Aaron Jones only get the ball 13 times?
Yeah, that's been the weirdest trend with this year's Packers is they have 2 like really goddamn good running backs, and they got the ball a decent amount, but like again, this is a 1-score game, and you're not really running the ball at all. Like it just seems so simple. Like AJ Dillon, if he's running for 7.8 yards average, should be getting the ball more often as well.
Yeah. And granted, Aaron Jones is the more established back, but if you have a guy that's finding all the openings in a game and running that well, feed the hot hand.
Yeah, 100%. So, I don't know if maybe it's LaFleur's losing his touch a little bit, but you know, he also had the luxury of having Aaron Rodgers run his offense, basically. So,
and Nathaniel Hackett, who basically tailored his playbook to what Aaron Rodgers wanted it to be.
Basically, yeah. On the Steelers side, Kenny Pickett did his thing of where he's like not spectacular, but they find a way to win.
Somehow.
Matt Canada finally came out of the booth, and they like last week actually looked competent on offense, and and it's like, okay, maybe this is working. So yeah,
I think the solution is to replace Matt LaFleur with Brian Ferentz.
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't have to travel far.
So I just can't believe that the Steelers are 6-3. I keep forgetting.
The Steelers always find a fucking way. The Steelers are inevitable.
It feels wrong. Yeah. Who did they even lose to? Let's see. The Steelers.
San Francisco week 1. That was a blowout. Jacksonville and Houston.
Texans. Oh, that's right. They lost to the Jags. I forgot about that one. Yeah.
And the crazy part is, like, I remember we were all shocked at that Houston game.
Yeah.
Like, we
And
thought
right-
Houston was gonna be like 3-14 and just absolute dog ass, and that the Steelers could be an improving offense. We were like, holy shit. No, the Texans might actually be good. The Steelers are just they're just the whatever.
Yeah. However, speaking of the 49ers and Jaguars, they played.
Yeah, they played each other.
And the reports of Brock Purdy's demise were greatly exaggerated because Deebo Samuel came back, and apparently that was the key to their entire offense and defense because they won 34-3 over a pretty goddamn good Jaguars team that was riding,
Yes,
I
they did.
believe, a 5-game win streak.
Yeah, the Jags' last loss was Houston, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we got the good Brock Purdy back, just shy of 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Wait, did McCaffrey? Oh no, McCaffrey's touchdown streak finally got broken.
Yeah.
He didn't score? Oh
He
my
still had
gosh.
95 rushing yards, or 130 or 142 total scrimmage yards, though.
Oh my
Still a
gosh.
great game despite not scoring.
Yeah. George Kittle had his giant game of the season, 116 yards on 3 catches.
We got a
on the
Kyle Juszczyk touchdown in this game, too.
Yeah. On the Jaguars side, Lawrence had 2
Yikes.
picks. It was a struggle.
Yeah, we saw
one of the
both
picks-
backups in this game.
Yeah, one of the picks was just like him trying to dump the ball off while being sacked, and it got deflected. But yeah, the Jaguars' offense just couldn't do anything. Chase Young basically lived in the backfield. It was bad.
I can't believe that the 49ers got Chase Young and Christian McCaffrey for what they got them for. Like, it's almost unfair that Kyle Shanahan just did that and that John Lynch did that.
Yep. It's the same thing with the Eagles. How like all of the moves they pull off, where everybody's like, "Come the fuck on!"
It's nuts how like every fucking one works.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember who it was who was saying this, but they were talking about like the real hierarchy of the NFL, and it's like the Jaguars are good, but they're not there yet. You know. They still feel like Trevor Lawrence has been pretty good this year, but you still feel like he's still waiting to take that next step and become an actual truly elite quarterback. Because there are those moments, but there's been some weird moments of him missing some pretty easy throws this year that has left people like really questioning, like, is he a guy? I think Trevor Lawrence is the dude. It's just a matter of like him fully reaching his potential. So.
And the Jaguars are still like 6-3, but
Yeah.
don't look now. The Texans are only a game behind them.
Yeah, yeah.
They are 5-4. The Jags slip up. The Texans could very well fuck around and win this division.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We very quick. Like, who would have predicted that this would have been the divisional race for the AFC South? So.
But that and the fact that like, if Anthony Richardson doesn't get hurt, the Colts could have probably won 1 or 2 of the games they didn't win.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean, they're still in it too.
The AFC South has produced some absolutely horrendous football for the last 5 or 6 years, but all of a sudden, we could be looking at 3 of those teams becoming perennial playoff contenders.
And the funny thing too is, like, I know they had a bad game this week too, but like Will Levis gives the Titans some juice as well. Like, all of a sudden, all 4 of these teams were all like, all right, you know, maybe.
And the problem for the Titans is they waited too late to do that, but more on that later.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, even with this loss, they're still 6-3 is still pretty good, given where they've been.
For sure. Yeah, this is what happens when you lose the turnover battle 4-0.
Yeah, ouch.
I think it is also important to mention that, like, I think the Jags are ahead of schedule too, because I don't think anybody expected them to make the playoffs last year,
let alone win a game in the playoffs.
Yeah. So now they have expectations, but I think it's like, all right, let's tamper it a little bit. This is basically Trevor Lawrence's second year, because the Urban Meyer year doesn't count. So
it shouldn't count. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and so the 49ers get back on track after a 3-game losing skid. They are now 6-3. But the team that is truly on a hot streak is, of course, the Minnesota Vikings, who won their, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, their 5th game in a row.
Fifth in a row, in 6 out of 7. They were 0-3, and now they're 6-4.
Just absurd. Beat the Saints 27-19. Again, this was Josh Dobbs' first start after last week. Had a truly ridiculous scramble for a touchdown, 3 for 1 as well, 268 yards. Our bald king is fucking living life right now, and God, is it awesome.
I don't know if Derek Carr is living life right now.
No, dude, oh my God.
He got hurt again.
I had not seen the play until like half an hour before we started recording it. He got fucking shit whipped.
Yeah, Danielle Hunter
so
fucked
hard.
him up, dude.
Just leveled. Yeah, and at this rate, I don't know if he's gonna be back with the Saints next year, because like
they gave him a lot of money though.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a huge contract to try to move off of.
Yeah, he has been largely mediocre this year, or I don't want to say mediocre. Like Derek Carr is like an extremely accurate quarterback. The problem is their numbers are just extremely low on offense. It's weird.
That's because most of his completions are like 4 yards.
Yeah.
Hard to miss those.
He was playing better when Alvin Kamara wasn't in the lineup because he didn't have a safety net to drop it off for 4 easy yards every time he has the ball. He actually had to like try to throw it downfield.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And look what that produced. Chris Olave all of a sudden looks like who everybody thought he would be.
Yeah.
And it's 6 for 94 yards, and that was including the part of the game that Jameis Winston played.
Yeah. Speaking of that, too, we got prime Jameis Winston in this game because there was an absolutely ridiculous touchdown. Then the one that he threw across the field that had absolutely no business being caught and ended up for a touchdown. And then also
A.T. Perry's kind of good.
Yeah. And
I don't know how the hell he caught that.
2 baffling interceptions, one of which was the game.
Bad.
We're like, yep, the old Jameis is still there.
And I think Michael Thomas got hurt this game for like the umpteenth time or something.
Yeah,
so
he is old.
And Marshawn Lattimore, I think, got hurt too. But so like the Vikings all of a sudden have completely revitalized themselves without the guy they were paying like $35 million to do that with. And
dude, this is the crazy thing. Like we all know Kirk Cousins is done with the Vikings at the end of this year. His contract's up. They're not re-signing him. They're not, they don't have any leverage. They can't trade him, so he's gonna walk in free agency. Like, franchise quarterback Josh Dobbs has a nice ring to it, though.
It's given me 2017 vibes when they started off with Sam Bradford, and then they brought in Case Keenum and went on a fucking tear with him.
Yeah,
it's got that same kind of feel to it.
They let Keenum go, and I was like, come on, don't do this again to me, Vikings. I don't know if it's gonna hold up, but like Dobbs just looks like the dude right now. It's so cool.
Again, feed the hot hand.
Yep.
Don't fuck with what's working.
My favorite, and this is again without Justin Jefferson. He's been hurt for like a month now.
Good thing they traded for T.J. Hawkinson last year.
Oh yeah.
Because man, what a difference he's made.
Yeah. I was talking about this before the show, but we have a number of friends who are Vikings fans, and I was telling Michael Murata, friend of the show, before last week's game, I was like, just trust me on this one. Like, you're gonna be okay with Josh Dobbs. I was like, he's gonna come in and he's gonna play well. I was like, he might not light the world on fire, but he's gonna do just fine. And not only was I right about that, he's exceeded what I've said, because I've gotten messages back from him like, oh my god, you were right. My favorite meme was the dark-haired girl from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and it's just said, I've only had Josh Dobbs for a week, but if anything happened to him, I would kill everyone in this room and then myself. I was like, yep, he's our bald king.
If Josh
Let's make it.
Dobbs has 0 haters, it's because I've murdered all of them.
Yeah.
Bless that man. And the
So.
Saints, despite looking like shit, still lead the division.
Do they? I thought the. Oh yeah, they do. That's right. Yeah. Because let's talk about that game. Actually, we'll just jump forward to that one. The Kyler Murray made his return, and the Cardinals
He
beat the
did.
Falcons 25-23. This is another one of those games that ended on a last-second field goal. We were so close to being free of the shackles of Desmond Ridder. And then Taylor Heineke got hurt, and in he came. And I think Arthur Smith listened because he attempted 6 passes. And Bijan Robinson ran the ball 22 times. So
About fucking time he did.
He's listening. He's figuring it out. He was like, wait,
God.
we have Bijan and Tyler Algier and Cordero Patterson? Why aren't we running the ball?
I want to point out in this game, too, that Kyler Murray came back, and the last time he played was the Monday night game against the Patriots last year. But yet, despite this, Clayton Tune had a rushing touchdown.
Wait, what?
Clayton Tune had 1 carry for 1 yard and a touchdown, and it was like the only snap he played the whole game.
Oh my gosh.
But, like, shout out to Trey McBride. Hello? 8 receptions for 131 yards as a tight end in the absence of Zach Ertz. Where the fuck did this guy come from?
Oh yeah. Oh god, what was I just about to say? Oh right. There is another player also we need to give an update on. Hang on.
Oh yeah.
'Cause he is Greg George, short king, proud of Glendale's football team, scoring all the touchdowns for you, punt return man, kickoffs too. He's Greg Dortch. Greg Dortch had 2 punt returns for 56 yards, one of which was genuinely fucking awesome if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
That one was for like 40 yards. I'm hoping with Kyler Murray back in the lineup that we get more short king on short king connection going here. Let's get Greg Dortch involved in the offense again. Come on. You know you want
Shout out to 39-year-old Matt Prater for kicking a 56 and a 51-yard field goal in this game.
He's got a fucking cannon.
He still got it.
And had the game winner.
He did.
Because the Falcons scored a touchdown to go up 23-22 with only with about a minute left. And then Kyler Murray reminded everybody that, yes, Kyler Murray is an extremely good football player.
Dude, that fucking scramble.
That was nuts. That was absolutely
ridiculous.
Nuts. There's been a lot of discussion about like, oh, is Kyler Murray the guy? And like, I know we've had our fair share of fun, like making fun of Kyler Murray because last year was such a mess. And I've heard people talk about like, oh, I don't know if Kyler Murray's the guy. I'm like, he's still really goddamn good, right? Like,
him getting hurt.
Still...
Him getting hurt, missing a year, made it very easy for people to forget how good he was and how impactful he can be.
I mean, people even last year with how messy it was. Remember the play against the Raiders where he literally scrambled for like 20 seconds without being touched a single time. Like, last year's struggles were not entirely on Kyler Murray. It was just a team that was in a mess. Like, he is 100% worth the investment. Even if things weren't going great last year, like, this dude can be truly great. So, yeah, Taylor Heineke also had some pretty nuts scrambles, but then unfortunately
went down with that injury.
So,
I don't know how much time he'll be out for, but yeah.
Yeah. So I think the Falcons do have their bye week this week though, which is very much needed because they got to think about this quarterback situation. But yeah. So yeah, the Cardinals are now 2-8. Falcons fall to 4-6.
Only a game back in the NFC South though. Don't count them out.
Yep. Let's go to the other NFC South team because the Buccaneers beat the Titans 20-6. This was a win they needed really, really badly.
I'm tired of picking the Titans.
Yeah, I've
I
kind
don't
of
want
given
to pick
up
their
on
games anymore.
Will
I've had
Levis
it.
briefly gave me hope again, and then I was like, nah, okay. Yeah, this is the thing that's been so frustrating. It's like the last two games, the Bucks absolutely should have won. I mean, you have the inexplicable Hail Mary that nobody looked for against the Bills, and then you have the Texans game where they seemingly won that game only for CJ Stroud to do CJ Stroud things. And then finally they get off the mat after 4 straight losses. And it was not very close. I mean, Will Levis, and I don't mean this in a bad way, looked like a rookie. It's gonna happen. Derrick
growing
Henry
pains
couldn't
like
do
the Jordan
anything.
Love deal.
Yeah, Derrick Henry was completely shut down. The Bucks have a really good run defense, but that's their pass defense not great. Run defense pretty goddamn good.
Yeah, Derrick Henry was absolutely stifled in this game.
Yeah,
11 carries and only 24 yards.
yeah.
Like,
and when that's all you're getting out of Henry, like you're not gonna do much else, unfortunately. On the Bucks side, they're getting something out of Rachaad White. I mean, 20 carries for 51 yards is not pretty on a stat sheet, but it's something. At least they're trying to run the ball. Baker had a pretty good game, just shy of 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think Baker might be their guy. I think they might have just found their dude. I don't know if he's going to be like, super highly paid and everything, but it's like, I think you've got
long
a dude
term,
for the
he
next
could
few
stay
years.
there.
Yeah, you got a dude for the next 3 or 4 years at this rate. So everybody seems to like him. He and Mike Evans have such a good connection. So, yeah, I think
it's worth a shot.
Yeah. Problem is the Bucks have a pretty bad game next week, but like after that, the tough part of their schedule is over because this is who they have after that, which is oh god, it just jumped up. They face after the 49ers, they face the Colts, the Panthers, the Falcons, the Packers. That's 4 winnable games. The Jaguars, who knows what they're going to be at that point. Saints, Panthers again. So like
those are all winnable games.
Yeah, they could absolutely.
Maybe except for San Francisco.
Yeah. If we got the version of Brock Purdy that we'd seen for the last 3 weeks, maybe. But Debo's back, so I'm expecting them to be 4-6 after next week. But after that, like, I don't see why they can't be 9-8. So.
Yeah.
So yeah. Outside of that, I don't know if there's much more to say about it other than I'm happy. So because my boy won. So. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
This is a game that definitely had a lot more to talk about. It's Lions Chargers.
Wow.
Because
there is a lot to take in here.
So I just want to read this stat that I heard, which is that the Chargers are the first team in NFL history to score a touchdown on their final 5 possessions and lose.
Only the Chargers could manage to pull that off. Like, you ask me that, you tell me that stat, and then ask me which team that is, I am telling you Chargers with no context on top of that question.
There were 3 punts in this game. Each team also only had, 7 possessions? Yeah. 7 or 8 possessions. So this was a short game, basically.
The time of possession was also very even.
Yeah.
First downs were even. This was just a old school classic shootout.
Yep. This is the perfect example of what I was talking about a few weeks ago, where it's the Chargers exist to be on the losing end of other teams' great moments, and this was that. Because,
yes,
by God, did the Lions have a day. David Montgomery's touchdown run was insane. I saw a lot of people joking about how he was pissed off that he lost his red zone carry, so he was like, all right, I'll just score from our own 30 then.
They had 533 yards of offense.
Yep. Jahmyr Gibbs scored 2 touchdowns on the day. Goff threw for on just under 350 yards of offense. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 150 yards receiving. And then on the Chargers side, Herbert threw 4 touchdowns for 300 yards. Eckler had a
Keenan
hell
Allen
of a
is
day.
still him.
Oh, yeah, Keenan Allen is still the fucking dude.
He had to
And
remind everybody, hey, I'm still really fucking good at this thing called football.
Yeah.
And he balled the fuck out.
And in the end, it didn't matter. Because
Nope.
Brandon Staley, defensive genius, doesn't know how to build a defense. So
Task failed successfully. They brought him in to improve the defense, and the offense got better instead.
Yep. And it's another 1-score loss for the Chargers. And again, they're just hovering around 500 like they do.
Yeah, well,
What
don't
a
look
fucking
further.
waste.
They might be in last place next week.
Dude, that's the thing. Like, they... the Chargers do not feel like a last place team. The Raiders are 5-5. The Raiders are in legitimate playoff contention, and we'll get to them. Meanwhile, the Chargers are just sinking.
Well, that's the thing. They're really not sinking. I'm like 4-5 is like it's not ideal, but you're
Yeah.
not dead in the water either.
No, they're better than their record. It's just they can't win games. Because this is the DNA of the Chargers.
Oh my god.
It's so absurd. So,
Oh, and Stone Smart update. He was targeted 3 times, but did not have a reception.
Stone Smart.
Yeah.
That is a name. With 2 T's. Smarted. Yeah. So
Smart to the
dude,
second power.
We didn't really talk about it much, but like the Chargers did not look good against the Jets either last week. And it's
No.
like,
The Jets
how
were just
long?
that much worse that they could mask it.
Yeah. How long is Brandon Staley gonna last, man? He's not good.
I genuinely think, unless they lose out, unless they lose like 3 or 4 games in a row here, I think he'll at the very least make it through the end of the year. But if they miss the playoffs, he's gone.
Yeah, I think for sure if they don't at least win a playoff game, he's done.
Oh yeah, if they even lose in the wild card round, remembering how they lost it last year.
Yep.
Because they
Oof.
should have won that game, and, well, we all saw how that went.
Yep. So the Lions are now
7-2.
7-2. So all of the preseason hype, yes, it was real. The Lions are really goddamn good.
Second in the NFC.
Yeah. Oh my god, I just realized we skipped over Texans Bengals. We haven't talked about that one yet.
Which is also a very good game.
Yeah, talking about CJ Stroud so much. He took one to Joe Burrow and the Bengals. And the Texans, another one of the 5 teams to win on a walk-off field goal. This is another thing that feels crazy, is the Bengals are, I'm pretty sure, dead last in their division, and they feel like the best team in the division.
They're 5-4 and they're last. No ties or anything. They are just last.
Yeah. This was a fucking shootout between 2 dudes. Like, see, what CJ Stroud is doing now is what Joe Burrow was doing in 2021, where everybody was like, oh, okay. And we just gotta skip to the end of this game because the Texans were up 10 going into the fourth quarter, or early in the fourth quarter. Joe Mixon scored a touchdown to make it a 3-point game, and then Tyler Boyd dropped a touchdown in the end zone.
That was rough.
That is one that you absolutely want back, because they had to settle for a 31-yard field goal, and then CJ Stroud was like, all right, I'm going to go sicko mode now. And then right down the field, Matt Amendola off the practice squad kicks a 38-yard game-winning field goal.
Yeah, Kami Fairbairn got injured in their win last week, so they had to sign him off the bat midweek, and came in and got the job done with no reps or anything.
So, I just can't believe that the Texans are doing this. Like, CJ Stroud is having an unbelievable rookie year. 356 yards, touchdown and a pick. Devin Singletary, 150 yards on the ground.
15 touchdowns and 2 picks through 9 games.
Noah Brown, former
2,600
Cowboy,
yards.
172 receiving yards.
Yeah, where did
Dalton
he come
Schultz,
from?
Dalton Schultz, also former Cowboy, 71 receiving yards. Gee, it would be nice to have those guys back.
Another good game from Tank Dell too, and another touchdown.
Yep.
Like
Yeah,
this,
honestly, at the
this
like the
Texans
Texans
receiving core is low-key really good.
dude, yeah, they're I'm just like at a loss for words with them. Also,
I
because
would
we finally
I would
get
not
to
have
talk about
expected
this.
like Robert
Okay.
Woods signs there at the beginning of the season, right?
Yeah.
After his year at Tennessee, he goes to Houston. Imagine telling him that he'd be like wide receiver number 5 by mid-season. The fuck?
Oh yeah. You know what the best part about this game is? Is it has massive playoff implications. Because now we're at the halfway point. We can actually talk about the playoff picture after this. The Texans are the 7 seed right now because of a tiebreaker over the Bengals.
Yeah, before this week, all 4 AFC North teams were in the playoffs, but now the Bengals are at the losing end of that tiebreaker with Houston.
Just nuts. So, yeah, and like what we were talking about, like, there is a legitimate case for CJ Stroud, rookie MVP.
I'm here for it.
Yep.
I am
so
here
down.
for that.
So yeah. Both teams now 5-4. And yeah. Speaking of my Cowboys though, let's move on to that game. Let's rip this Band-Aid off.
One quick thing before we do that. Devin Singletary got the ball 30 times in this game.
For 150 yards. Yeah.
Like, holy fuck, dude. Crazy how he leaves the Bills and all of a sudden he's good.
Yep. I wonder what's causing that.
More on that later.
Yeah. Similarly great coach teams. The Giants lost 49-17 to the Cowboys. However, it's not all bad things because the Giants scoring in, what was it? The third quarter snapped a 68-point run by the Cowboys against them.
The Cowboys in their 2 games against the Giants this season outscored them 89-17.
I want to give a shout out to I usually don't call out random people on Twitter like this, but it was really funny when I saw it, and it's even funnier in retrospect. Dak Prescott has a record of like 10-1 against the Giants' career. The only games, if I recall correctly, the only games the Cowboys have lost to the Giants since 2016 was Dak's first career start, which was the game where Terrence Mitchell wouldn't run out of bounds to set up a game-winning field goal, and then the 2 games in 2020 when Dak got hurt. Those are the only ones, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
And some random fucking clown on opening night made a prediction post where he said that, quote, Daniel Jones is going to continue to be Dak Prescott's daddy and beat them. And I was like, he's literally never beat Dak Prescott. And not to beat
Still
him
has
while
it.
he's, yeah, not to kick him in while he's down, because genuinely get better soon, Daniel. And he didn't play in this game. But like, Dak Prescott has fucking owned the Giants, because it doesn't matter what the narrative about him is. When they play the Giants, he fucking destroys them, because he threw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns.
So, I want to point out one other thing too. So, the Giants through 10 games have a point differential of minus 148. 72 of those are the Cowboys alone. 1/2 of their point differentials from one team in 2 games.
That is incredible. That is such a
That's how bad it's gotten for the Giants.
I love looking at like the stat breakdown, because when you go to kicking for Brandon Aubrey, their kicker had 0 field goals, 0%, 0 long, 7 points.
7 for 7 on extra points, yeah.
Yep. So
we got a Rico Dowdle touchdown in this game.
Yeah.
Ended up with more yards than Tony Pollard because all the garbage time that he was playing in.
Yeah.
Got a Cooper Rush bad interception in this game because Dak got taken out after throwing for 400 fucking yards. And we got the first career start for Tommy DeVito, which is worth mentioning because he is now the 10th different rookie starting quarterback this year, which is the most in NFL history in a non-replacement player season.
He was 14 of 27 for 86 yards
But threw for 2
and an
touchdowns
interception.
somehow.
Yeah. They had a net 61 passing yards on the day. So, great day for the
Ran for
Giants.
40 yards though. I mean, he wasn't great, but I mean, it could be
Yeah.
worse, I guess.
This was also like a nightmare game to put
Yeah.
that rookie in, especially because it's like you have a pissed off Cowboys team after last week, which is historically fucking rolled over you. Oh yeah, and also we lost our quarterback that we just paid like $70 million to. Oh yeah, and also our backup's hurt. So you got this though, right?
Good
So,
luck.
all things considered, like it could have been a lot worse.
I mean, and this was an ugly, ugly, ugly game. But
Yeah.
stat-wise, it could have looked way worse on paper.
Yeah. So, yeah, the Cowboys get back on track. They're now 6-3. The Giants are 2-8.
But shout out
Yeesh.
Brandon Cooks too in this game, by the way. Dude
Oh,
had
yeah.
the game of his fucking life in like his 8th or 9th year.
Oh my god, I didn't even notice that. Yeah, 173 receiving yards.
He did not have more than 49 yards in a game this year before this one.
Just absurd.
The
CeeDee
last
Lamb
time
also 150.
The last time he had over 100 yards was Week 18 last year against the Colts. And I'm trying to see when the last time he had more than 150 was. Because it was 9 for 173. Okay, the last time he had more than 150 receiving yards in a game was Week 17 in 2020.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even know what team he played for in 2020.
I think he was on the Texans. I can't remember though.
You might be right.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a fucking game for him. Seemingly out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it's felt like it's just kind of been waiting for like Brandon Cooks to have not necessarily that big of a game, but like a pop off game, yeah.
And
So
that's not to take away from what CeeDee Lamb did in this game either. Like,
no.
and he ran for a touchdown too.
Yeah, like this is what the Cowboys offense can do when everything's firing right. So
They had 640 yards of offense.
like nothing about like the stats of this game sound real.
But here's another one. The Cowboys were so favored in this game that their win probability was at 89.8% after the first play from scrimmage of the game. Nothing had even happened yet, and they were already favored that much to win.
Oh my gosh. Where does this
It was
stack up
just
in
a
history?
good old-fashioned ass whooping by a
This
really good
was-
team against a really bad one.
I just found it. This is the This is the 10th most yards from scrimmage for a team in any one game in NFL history. Yep.
And yet,
Hey.
not the most this season.
Yeah, I was gonna say number one was the Dolphins against the Broncos this year. Yep.
Speaking of the Broncos, though, more on that later.
Yeah. Before that, though, we gotta talk about Seahawks commies because this game was candidate for snoozer through the first 3 quarters.
And then it got weird.
Yeah, and then it got really weird, and Geno Smith and Sam Howell put up an extremely weird fourth quarter shootout. Sam Howell was a fucking monster at the end of this game.
Sam Howell was leading the league in passing yards.
Just so ridiculous.
Like, what the fuck, dude?
300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Brian Robinson had a ridiculous game through the air. But when it came down to it, it really was who had the ball last because the fourth quarter, so the third quarter, field goal, touchdown, and then fourth quarter, Seahawks field goal, Commies touchdown, Seahawks touchdown, Commies touchdown, with 52 seconds left on a fucking crazy ass 35 yards touchdown
Diami
run.
Brown, what a catch that was.
Yeah, ridiculous catch, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, he's just nobody around him. Like, he's just open. And then the Seahawks put together their drive down the field, and then you get a really funny series of plays where it was, oh god, who was it for the Seahawks? Zach Charbonnet just like instead of running out of bounds, is like, no, I'm gonna hit this guy, and stays in bounds, keeps the clock running, gets another chance in the next play to actually run out of bounds. And so then it's with like 14 seconds left. They complete a pass to DK Metcalf in field goal range, and he scrambles and then just like bowls through a guy and shaves way too much time off the clock. So there's this bad scramble of everybody trying to get up there and snap the ball, and like Mark Sanchez during the entire play was just yelling like, "Go down, just go down." And then they line up and kick the game-winning field goal to advance to 6-3. Just nuts.
There's a lot of weird 6-3 teams this year.
There is, yeah. A lot of weird 6-3 teams and a lot of weird 4-5 teams. Yeah.
Everybody's like super, super bunched together, and then there's just the Patriots, Cardinals, and Giants, like just.
Yeah.
And then the Panthers even got kicked out by them.
Yep.
So like, yeah, Seahawks are in the thick of it. They're tied for the division lead with the Niners right now.
God, this division's gonna be good. So, this is the weird thing about the Seahawks too, is they're very streaky. They get hot at weird times, and like this was a game where it was like, just go out and win this one, Gino, and he absolutely did. Yeah. So, unfortunately, Sam Howell's stat numbers or sack numbers are dropping off, which makes me sad. Because he only got sacked 3 times.
I'm sure he's thrilled about it.
I wanted triple-digit sacks.
Oh, one quick thing I forgot to mention too about the Giants. Speaking of triple digits, they were at 101 points on the year before this week, and they're now at 118 and only got there because of garbage time. The New York Football Giants are averaging 11.8 points a game.
Oh my god.
And we're over halfway through the year. Just wanted to mention that.
That's bad.
It's bad.
Also, Sam Howell has now been sacked 47 times. He's only on pace for 94.
Only 94.
Oh wait, no, sorry. He's played 10 games this year, so it's about just under 5 sacks a game. So it's around 90. Yeah,
which would still be the all-time record.
Yeah, we got to pump those numbers up, man. Let's get to 100.
Speaking of pumping up numbers, Davante Adams.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Finally.
Close this tab. Yep, and the Raiders beat the Jets 16-12. I want to point out, before last week, Davante Adams was basically just like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, man. And then this week, he's dancing in the fucking locker room post game and looks like he could not be happier. Just it's the firing Josh McDaniels effect. So you love to see
Not just that though, but Antonio Pierce has turned out to be a really good leader.
Yeah.
He seems like the perfect guy for that team.
Yeah. There was a quote that they were talking about by Mark Davis where he was just saying, he's like, he gets the Raider way. Even if he didn't play for the Raiders, he gets what this team's about because he grew up, in Compton and LA when the Raiders were there and just like knows what it means to be a Raider. So, this
wasn't
was a game,
pretty,
though,
but they did it.
Yeah, the Jets thoroughly outplayed the Raiders in this game. But the Jets could not get out of their own. Like, Zach Wilson had an actual, he was okay this game. He wasn't that bad. Problem was penalties.
Yes.
The most egregious one was a scramble by Wilson for what should have been a first quarter touchdown that he stepped out of bounds on. And then they have a touchdown wiped off the board by penalties. They have to settle for a field goal. And the first 2 drives, they looked great. And then the Jets offense completely went to sleep after that. And their streak continued because the Jets have not scored a touchdown in 35 consecutive possessions.
God.
That's, yeah.
For every good thing the Jets do, they do 4 bad ones consecutively that undoes the entirety of the good thing.
Yeah, and a prime microcosm of that was late in this game. The Raiders scored a touchdown to go up 16-12, and that was we finally got a touchdown deep into the fourth quarter. And then the Jets drove down into Raiders territory, and then on a second down, Zach Wilson has a pretty bad play where he, like, I'm not a quarterback expert, right? But I do know in a situation where, like, the main thing you're reading with the defense is you're like, where are the safeties, where are the linebackers? And they get into a situation where they have a linebacker isolated. He's the only guy in the middle of the field, and he has to. It was God, who was it? It was Robert Spillane. That's who it was.
Yeah.
He's isolated in the middle of the field, which means he has to make a choice. And so a good quarterback draws him to one side of the field with his eyes and then throws it into the gap that he generated. Zach Wilson just locks on to his receiver, stares him down, and Spillane jumps on it for an extremely easy interception.
That was a hell of a play, though, to read that route and jump it in time to grab it.
Like, great play by the linebacker, but, like, as a quarterback, you've got to look that guy off. You cannot, key him in on exactly where you're going with the ball.
It's a mistake you can't afford to make.
No. And then the Jets get a break because they force a fumble on, oh my God, I'm trying to blank, on Josh Jacobs. And they get into Hail Mary range. And this is a thing that I'll never understand, is on the final play of the game, the Raiders rush 3, and all 3 guys get to Zach Wilson. Like, you have a 5-on-3 blocking advantage, and all 5 of them whiff on their blocks. So Zach Wilson.
To be fair, the Jets' offensive line has been one of the most beat up and bad ones in the league.
Bad.
Like, they're on like their third string center right now, I think.
Yeah.
Or something.
And so Zach Wilson has to scramble for his life and somehow gets away, fires a perfect strike into the end zone to Garrett Wilson, and it's his teammate who fucking knocks the ball out of his hands.
Like, that was genuinely a really good fucking throw.
It was a literal perfect throw, and it was in Garrett Wilson's hands, and his fucking teammate defended the pass for him on accident.
Oh.
It's the most Jets thing.
You know,
just,
I'm really starting to wonder if Robert Saleh will be the Jets coach next year.
Yeah, a game like this is the exact kind of one that makes you wonder that, because they were so undisciplined and so messy. I mean, they lost the, what was it? The Raiders were penalized 3 times for 25 yards. The Jets 8 times for 83 yards, including a touchdown taken off the board that would have won them the game.
And I should have prefaced that by saying that it's very clear that the Jets defense has improved greatly since he became the head coach, but I just don't know if he's really nailed down the situational football still.
No. I mean, yeah, their defense is awesome. Like, the Raiders' offense was not good this game. I mean, Josh Jacobs had 116 yards on the ground, but that was on 27 carries.
Yeah, it wasn't a very efficient 100 yards.
No. But in the end, the Raiders gritted one out and the Jets didn't. So. But
yeah, the Raiders are 5-5. It was looking really bad for them. Then all of a sudden, they fired Josh McDaniels. They have a whole new juju about them. They're 2-0 under Antonio Pierce, and just like that, they're still second in the division and right in the thick of things with the playoffs.
They're half a game out of the playoffs, yeah.
Don't count this team out yet.
No, they're right in there. It's just ridiculous. So, and then finally, Monday Night Football. We'll splice in. We're gonna have Jack on tomorrow to edit that in. So Matthew, edit that in here. Do we want to talk about this game at all, or do we want to save it for tomorrow?
I think we should touch on some stuff because the news is like the news desk kind of wraps around it, but
yeah,
the skinny of it is the Broncos won 24-22, and Ken Dorsey can no longer be a football terrorist in the state of New York.
Thank God. Dude, it annoys the shit out of me, like the number of people who've talked about, like, oh, yeah, he was made a scapegoat because Vance Joseph's defense could, or is it Vance Joseph? I can't remember who their DC is.
I think,
or not
Denver's is Vance Joseph. I don't know who Buffalo's is.
I think they fired him, didn't they?
Maybe? I have no idea, honestly.
Hang on, I'm gonna look it up now. Who the fuck?
I think he's still there.
Your coaching staff. Let's see.
Oh, you're thinking of that because Vance Joseph was their old head coach, and Peyton brought him back as the defensive coordinator.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, they do not have a defensive coordinator.
Buffalo doesn't?
No. It's just
Yeah, I
McDermott
know
calling all
Leslie
the plays.
Frazier like took a leave or something, but I don't know if they
Yeah.
would replace him with like a guy or like a committee of guys.
But anyway, yeah, Ken Dorsey's been awful. We like Josh Allen has regressed so much as a player. Like there's still those highlight moments, but the baffling mistakes are back. This team can't hold on to the fucking ball. They can't like they make everything look difficult. It's terrible.
Since he debuted in 2018, he has 93 turnovers. And that is more than anybody else in that time span.
Yeah, and to be fair too, in his defense, like a player with that many turnovers doesn't stick around if they're good. Jameis Winston had a 30 pick season in that time span.
Yeah.
Turnovers aren't the only way to judge a player. I mean, Brett Favre has the most in NFL history, and Brett Favre is one of the best ever to play. But it's the problem with that is that Josh Allen is like as raw of a talent as there is. Like as a purely talented player in the NFL, he is right up there at the top. And
he shouldn't be this raw still.
No, it took like a ton of great coaching from McDermott and Brian Daboll to turn him into the fucking juggernaut that he was in 2020 up until, about halfway through last year.
Yeah, and
Daboll
now it's
leaves, and it's been a steady decline. And I've talked about this too in like I don't know if I've said on the show. I hate the trend of having your offensive coordinator up in the fucking booth. I don't like having your coaches not down on the sideline with your players. And I think
that's weird.
I think that is, maybe I'm grasping at straws, but that seems like something that is a big problem because when Josh Allen has a crushing turnover and then he goes to the sideline and he sits by himself and looks at the tablet. And I'm like, no, get your fucking coach down there. Coach, your job isn't just drawing up plays. It's you're a goddamn coach. Do your job.
I mean, compare that to what happened on Sunday with Bill O'Brien and Mac Jones, where, Mac Jones threw that pick, and Bill O'Brien was sitting there with the tablet in front of him like, hey, look, you had like 3 guys wide open all across the field. You've got to be able to see these guys and get them the ball instead of throwing it to this guy who's covered and it's not going to work. And a lot of people were, oh, well, Bill O'Brien's being too hard on Mac Jones. He shouldn't be doing that in public like that. Well, he's got to fucking learn somehow.
Yeah.
And Josh Allen isn't getting that treatment. Josh Allen isn't getting that guy in his ear like, hey, man, look what you had over here. You got to recognize that the next time you're in the situation. So when you are, you'll know that you have that guy at your disposal instead of trying to Hail Mary it over here where it's not going to work.
Yep. Because as soon as Josh Allen comes off the field, he's not talking to Ken Dorsey because his helmet's off.
And he should have been.
Yeah. It's just terrible.
And if, again, if you want to debate on whether Bill O'Brien was too harsh or not, be my fucking guest. But I like the idea of a coordinator being up close and personal with the guy that's supposed to be leading the offense that you yourself are supposedly putting together for them to say, hey, you have this, this, and this. We can go over it and practice this week. We could do some reps with it to make sure that the next time this play comes up and you're in this situation, you hit that open guy. And it seems like with Josh Allen, that never happened post Daboll.
There is a lack of, I don't want to say responsibility, but like, it's much like what you're saying about the Jets. They're undisciplined, right?
Yes.
I mean, look at how many goddamn fumbles they had this game. There's, 3, I think? The very first play of the game
3.
was fumbled. And then you had a
James
fumbled
Cook
snap.
Twice and Allen once.
Yeah, James Cook fumbled it and then picked it back up on a touchdown run. Or on a touchdown drive. But it's like, these are mistakes you cannot make, especially when a team is playing this poorly. It's just infuriating to watch. And like, you have the Gabe Davis drop on, that ends up as an interception.
That was bad.
Like, this team is just, they're undisciplined and they are a shell of themselves. I was saying this when we were watching the game live, and I was like, they just don't do anything particularly well right now. They're not a good team right now. And there's no reason the Bills should not be a great team, much less a bad team.
Well, the dumb part is that James Cook and Latavius Murray were both very good in this game. It's like their biggest issue for a while and under this whole stretch they've had was their running game, and the running backs together had a great game between them, but why didn't they just give them the ball more? It's the same issue
Yeah.
the Packers had. Anytime the passing game is struggling, hand it off to your backs.
Yeah.
But they really didn't.
It's such a self-fulfilling prophecy where it's like you have a quarterback who's struggling. He needs support. Like something's up with Josh Allen. He's not playing as well as he should, right? He's regressing. He's making bad decisions and you can see that it is driving him crazy on the sidelines, right?
I'm sure
Like-
Diggs is going crazy. He only had, what, 3 receptions for this game?
Yeah.
For chump change of yards?
Yeah, and it's like you shouldn't obviously hide your quarterback, but like they need to do more to put him in a position to succeed better. Because then you get stuff like the Jets game where Josh Allen feels like he needs to make a play and he throws 3 interceptions to the same player. Right?
Yeah.
This whole team needs a reset. And do they have their bye week this week? I can't remember if they do. They do not. Oh good, they're playing the Jets.
They've already yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the kind of week that you need to tear everything down and say, okay, we're starting over from scratch offensively.
And that's what the Broncos did. And I mean, yeah, they're 4-5 and they started off 1-5, but I mean, compare the Broncos offense now to what it looked like at this time last year and just see how much of a drastic difference it's made.
Yeah, and I mean,
Like,
Russell Wilson was a prime example in this game. Like, he did not have great stats, but he was extremely efficient, extremely safe with the ball, and he threw 2 touchdowns. And like that's what matters in the end is yeah.
And one of them, that 4th down scramble where he just launched it off his back foot to Cortland Sutton, who had like probably one of the best touchdown catches you'll see all season, with
Yeah,
the
that was
tippiest of tiptoes in the side of the end zone, where only he could have caught it. Like, that was a vintage Russell Wilson throw that we never saw last year.
Yeah.
And it's almost like if you tear it down from scratch and you restart, shit like that'll start happening again. And the Bills need to do that with Josh Allen yesterday.
Yeah. And that's not to say they need to blow up the entire roster, but they need to reset and you know, rethink everything that they do on offense because the defense is not bailing you out right now. Right? Like they can play well, but they don't generate turnovers. They don't get sacks. They just, you know, they force punts. And that only holds up for so long.
Yeah.
So and luckily they did do that cuz we'll get into it. But Ken Dorsey was fired. Thank God. But
the Bills being 5-5 is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. I was
there is a
mentioning
negative reason why this should be a 5-5 team.
Yeah. And I was saying this too, is I was like, just watching them reminds me of the 2019 Browns, where everything they do on offense looks difficult. They're not the kind of team that can just effortlessly go up and down field. They can put it together at the end of the game when they absolutely need a touchdown drive, like they did against the Giants, like they did here. But, you know, it's going to take 4 quarters to get there. So, this team's a mess right now. And
yeah.
This, in a way, this loss might be a good thing for them. So, and we'll talk more about the extremely baffling way they lost when Jack's here. Depending on the way I edit it, you've probably already heard that rant.
That was really fucking funny.
Yeah, just absurd. So, yeah,
which and that loss, by the way, the way they lost would have been our WTF or what the football moment of the week, if not for something even more absurd than that.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that.
But that was week 10.
Yeah.
And let's throw it over to the dues.
Yeah, so it was touched on already. Ken Dorsey was fired by the Bills the morning after they lost to the Broncos. quarterbacks coach Joe Brady, who was the architect behind the national championship winning LSU team that Joe Burrow was on, is now the interim offensive coordinator. So we'll see what Joe Brady cooks up for the rest of the year for the Bills offense. We'll start off with the injuries first, because there were a lot of them. Touched on Deshaun Watson earlier having season-ending surgery on his shoulder, so he is done in rings for the year. Leighton Vander Esch might be done for his career. His neck injury still hasn't healed right. He's already been ruled out for the year, and there's apparently a pretty good chance he never plays football again.
Dude, that's such a bummer too, because Vander Esch's rookie year was so goddamn good.
Yes.
And he has really struggled to stay healthy since then, and he's kind of been replaced by Micah Parsons. And in a way, it kind of helped because, like, Leighton Vander Esch as the starting linebacker was kind of a liability at times, but him as, like, a depth piece, fucking awesome. So, it's such a bummer. I hope he can get healthy, but it's not looking good right now.
Yeah. Jordan Hicks, the linebacker for the Vikings, he hurt his leg on Sunday. He's an IR now, out at least 4 games. Marshawn Lattimore had an ankle sprain, so he's week to week. This is a bit of a weird one. Chris Rumpf, the linebacker for the Chargers, broke his foot during warm-ups for the game against the Lions, so he's out for the year too.
Oh, weird.
And Quan Alexander tore his Achilles against the Packers, so he's also out for the year, which sucks for the Steelers defense. It's already down Cole Holcomb for the year as well. So, and
Yep.
Sunday Night Football reported it where, like, during the broadcast, where apparently Aaron Rodgers is somehow targeting a mid-December return. Hello?
Dude, it's
The
happening.
bro tore his fucking Achilles and is going to try to come back in 3 months? What?
They're 4-5 too. I mean, they could be, what, 5-7 when he comes back, and they're right in the playoff hunt still.
Dude, it would be the funniest shit ever if the Jets, like, need to win in Week 18 to make the playoffs and Rodgers is back and they lose to the Patriots anyway. To continue the streak. That would be the funniest shit ever.
That would be pretty good.
If it goes to, like, 17 and it knocks them out of the playoffs with Rodgers back, oh my god. If the Patriots don't do anything else this year besides that, I would accept it. I'd be okay with that. But that would be such a poetic ending to this year.
It would be extremely Jets.
It would be. And with the injury to Jordan Hicks, the Vikings brought back Anthony Barr, who previously played for them from 2014 to 2021. They also signed Myles Gaskin to their practice squad. And Jason Pierre-Paul is back too. He signed with the Saints.
When was the last
Still
time he
motoring
played?
along.
When was the last time he played?
I think he was on the Ravens last year. And for at least part of the season, he was there.
Yeah, he was. How about that?
The Patriots waived Jack Jones, and he was claimed off waivers by the Raiders, which is an extreme fucking shame, and I'm really disappointed about that, because Jack Jones had some issues off the field in college that knocked him from what probably could have been a second-round draft choice to what ended up being a fourth-round pick last year. Showed all that promise last year, had the injury this year, and the gun charge in the offseason. Sounds like he wasn't all too thrilled with some of the stuff that was going on. And so he's gone. He is off to Vegas with Antonio Pierce. And it just disappoints the shit out of me, because the Patriots at the beginning of this year had a pretty good defense lined up, and including a couple of young guys. And then 2 of them got hurt, and now one of them's not even on the team anymore because of off-the-field issues. So hopefully he does well with the Raiders, but it just sucks he didn't end up panning out here, because the talent is definitely there for him.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
The Jets waived Michael Carter as well. He was picked up by the Cardinals off waivers, who just activated James Conner off of IR. So I guess for their upcoming game, it'll be those 2. The Jaguars waived JaMychal Hasty. He was claimed by the Patriots. Denzel Perryman for the Texans. He was suspended for 3 games for repeated violations of playing rules intended to protect the health and safety of players. It was reduced to 2 games on appeal, but I guess he didn't learn from Kareem Jackson and got himself suspended anyway.
Yeah, some of his stuff was pretty egregious too.
Yeah. I'm glad they're like actually suspending guys for this now instead of letting it just build up and up like Vontez Burfict, where it just
Yeah,
explodes all at once and they suspend him for a long ass time.
yeah.
It's good they're being
Because
more proactive about it.
monetary fines don't really matter when dudes are paid as much as they are.
And they don't do shit.
No.
Zay Jones was arrested on a misdemeanor charge of domestic battery. Don't really know more details than that, but not a good look either way.
No.
We mentioned the play calling of the Panthers earlier and how Frank Reich gave it to OC Thomas Brown earlier in the year. Well, Frank Reich has seen enough. He is taking the duties of play calling back, effective immediately.
It was like 2 weeks that lasted.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 weeks tops. So like, why even bother now?
Yep.
It's not going to do
totally
anything.
fine in Carolina, you guys.
T. Higgins has been ruled out already against the Ravens. Ronnie Stanley has been ruled out. So both of those teams going into the Thursday game will be missing key players. And yeah, Justin Fields will be back against the Lions. And finally, our WTF or What the Football Moment of the Week is courtesy of the NCAA. They can go fuck themselves. As the postseason waiver requests by James Madison, who is undefeated in 10-0 right now in their second year at the level of FBS, as well as the appeals of Jacksonville State, who's in their first year of FBS football and is bowl eligible, and Tarleton State, who just moved up from FCS from Division II and is eligible for the FCS playoffs. All three of those postseason waivers were rejected by the NCAA, which means that James Madison could go undefeated at 12-0 and not play in a bowl game.
What the fuck?
Yeah, fuck the NCAA. They suck. Everything about them sucks. Every time they get themselves in a situation like this, they continue to choose the wrong thing that gets everybody pissed off at them. And it seems like at this point, they know it's going to get them pissed off. And they just do it anyway because they don't fucking care.
So I know James Madison just moved up. Is
Yes.
there a reason why they're not bowl eligible?
So the way it typically works is teams are ineligible for the postseason for their first 2 years at FBS because what they're afraid of is a team in those 2 years will just schedule a bunch of cupcake teams from lower divisions to get the easy wins instead of like really transitioning. But every single one of James Madison's 10 wins this year has been against an FBS team. So they requested a waiver that said, hey, can we ditch this second year of ineligibility because we're 10-0, we're really fucking good, and we could make a really big bowl game. And they're like, nah, fuck you. So,
What?
yeah.
So it. Oh my god!
It doesn't
I hate
make
the NCAA so much.
Like the first year, I get it. You know, I actually get the first year, but there's no reason for the second year at all.
For me, the thing that doesn't make sense is like if you join a conference, like you're gonna be, even if it's a weaker conference like the Sun Belt, like you're still gonna be playing some pretty formidable teams, right? And
well, that's the other bitch. The Sun Belt has a rule where ineligible teams that are ineligible for whatever the reason can't play in the Sun Belt Championship game, which means that James Madison, who's undefeated overall and undefeated in their conference, is also ineligible for their conference championship game. So their last game in week 12, that's it. They're done.
That is truly stupid.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Like they're also ineligible because of this for the college football playoff rankings, and the way the college football playoff rankings work right now is the highest ranked group of 5 team, which is not your typical Power 5 conferences, your traditional ones. The highest ranked one of those gets to play in one of the big New Year's 6 bowl games against another Power 5 team, which if you're a conference like the Sun Belt and a team like James Madison, that can be fucking huge between the recognition, the financial payout for that, because playing in a bowl like the Rose Bowl is going to be a way higher payout than if you play in like whatever random bowl that they have a contractual tie-in to. It's such a missed opportunity for the coaching staff, the players, the conference, the school, everybody, because of an antiquated rule that couldn't be tweaked just a little bit to help a good team out.
See, this is my thing with like like I dislike the idea of all the super conferences that are being made, but if it completely cuts the NCAA out, then I'm fucking for it. Because the NCAA sucks ass.
It
I think
just
I've talked.
blows my mind that every single time they're faced with a decision like this, they choose wrong every time without fail.
Yeah, the prime example of like why I hate the NCAA is SB Nation made a documentary about this. It's fantastic. Go watch it. It's called Dirty Money. I think I can't remember. But it was about the Ole Miss cheating scandal from like 2017 when Larry Tunsil got fucking hacked on his draft day, and when the NCAA investigated all of it, they basically found that everybody in the SEC was cheating. And when they released their findings, they just redacted everybody's names that wasn't Ole Miss because if they published all of that, it would expose that they're terrible at what they do and they're completely incapable of actually policing any of the rules that they put in place. On top of the way that Leo Lewis got completely fucked out of his entire career. So
Not just that, but at this point, with all of the innovations and laws and everything regarding NIL, can we just give Reggie Bush his fucking Heisman Trophy back already?
fucking real, yeah.
Like, come on. That was 18 years ago now. There's no fucking reason to keep this charade going anymore. But again, at every step in the way, at every fork in the road, they go wrong, and then they wonder why everybody hates them so much. Fuck you, NCAA.
Abolish
Fuck
the
you.
NCAA.
And that was our What the Football moment of the week.
I will play James Madison for their bowl game.
Yeah.
It's James Madison versus Oofsides.
I think what needs to happen is that James Madison and Jacksonville State should just say fuck it and schedule a game against each other.
Yeah, like what are you gonna do? Revoke her bowl eligibility again?
Yeah, fuck it. Why not?
Oh my god, that's so absurd. So, yeah. You know what else is absurd? Pick they thems. Let's do them.
Hell yeah.
Oh, and Steven literally just sent me his picks. Sweet. It starts with Thursday night Bengals Ravens.
It's a tough one, man.
Yeah.
This is a really, really tough one.
This is too. I mean, we're finally on paper gonna get a good game on Thursday. Maybe Al Michaels will be happy.
He has been one depressed motherfucker the last month and a half.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Ravens.
I'm gonna go with the Bengals, but I'm not really confident in that at all.
Yeah. Steven also took the Ravens. Steelers Browns, the other AFC North matchup. Huge games for this division this week.
I was going to pick the Browns before the news about Deshaun Watson came out today. But given that he will not be playing for the rest of the year and that the Browns are going with Dorian Thompson-Robinson this weekend, I'm going to pick the Steelers.
Yeah, I will also be taking the Steelers. And Steven also had the Steelers. Raiders at Dolphins. This is a big game, too.
I think the Dolphins are going to win, but I think too many people are going to count the Raiders out of this one prematurely.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the Dolphins have been kind of struggling recently. And the Raiders are amped right now. I think it could be a big close game, but I will be taking the Dolphs. But I'm not counting the Raiders out entirely.
Not entirely.
And Steven's going to take the Dolphs as well. You had the Dolphins too, right?
I did.
Okay. Right. Bears at Lions.
I'm not going to lock the Lions, but I feel pretty confident in picking them.
I might lock them. I'm thinking about it. Steven had the Lions as well. I'll have to get Jack's picks too. I just realized. Titans at Jaguars. This could
be a weird one.
gotta have game for the Titans. If they lose this one, they are fully done because they're 3-6 right now. I'm gonna take the Jags though.
Well, not just that. If the Titans lose, how much more of a leash will Mike Vrabel have left?
I don't know. I think it. Actually, no, that is tough because they do have a new GM.
They do,
Maybe
yeah.
the new GM wants his guy rather than Mike Vrabel. I wouldn't necessarily put this on Vrabel. I think the roster's just not good, but you never know what could happen.
I mean, coaches have been fired for less, so
Yeah.
who knows? This could very well be a save your job game for Mike Vrabel, but I'm going to pick the Jaguars anyway because over the course of the year, they've just been a better team consistently.
Yep.
But it's the AFC
Steven.
South, so good fucking luck picking them at all.
Yep. Steven had the Jaguars as well. Chargers at Packers. This is another gotta have it game for both of them. I think the Packers are pretty much done, but Chargers, you have to win this game. Like, there's no excuse if you lose this one at this point.
Logic says the Chargers. Statistics say the Chargers. On paper says the Chargers. But Brandon Staley is going to say the Packers, isn't he?
You know
the
what?
Packers
Yeah,
are going to
true.
find a fucking way to win this, aren't they?
I think you never know.
I'm picking the Packers, dude.
Alright.
I'm committing to it. Like the Chargers are a far superior team in pretty much every facet possible, but yet this is exactly the type of game that the Chargers are gonna fuck around and shit themselves and lose.
I am really tempted to take the Packers, but I'm gonna go with my gut and I'm gonna take the Chargers with Steven. So I know I said I wasn't picking the Chargers anymore, but this
That
is
lasted a long time.
If they lose this game, I'm done. I'm fully done. Why did I list Okay, I typed this one wrong because I put in Cardinals at Cardinals. Hang on.
Yep, it's the red and white scrimmage game, the spring game.
Cardinals at Texans. I will be taking the Texans.
So will I, but this game looks a lot different than it did 2 weeks ago with Kyler Murray back.
Yeah, I just did think about that. I'm gonna stick with the Texans. Yeah.
The DeAndre Hopkins Bowl.
Yeah.
And JJ Watt Bowl.
Texans across the board. Cowboys at Panthers.
I mean,
they could find a way. I'm just saying.
All right, so they lost
I know this
to the Cardinals already this year. I'm going to pick the Cowboys, but their tendency to lose to absolute shitter teams is the reason why I'm not going to lock them.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. Oh,
they're so predictable now.
I mean, that is the Cowboys. They always have a completely inexplicable loss to a terrible team. I mean, remember, they were the first team to lose to the Adam Gase Jets.
That was very funny.
Yep. But yeah, we are Cowboys across the board again. Giants at Commies. Ugh.
Oh, boy.
We got a scrappy Giants team a couple weeks ago. We are not getting that again, as I will be taking the Commies.
Their game a couple weeks ago was ugly.
Yeah.
And I think this one has the chance to be even uglier. Give me the Commies, though.
Yeah.
Our team is going to find a way.
Yes, we will win. It's Commies across the board. We are all comrades.
Hell yeah.
Bucks at Niners. I will be taking the 49ers. I would love to see the Bucks win, but
I'm debating on whether I should lock the Niners or not.
I wouldn't blame you for it.
I am thinking about it. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do it.
Alright, there it is. Jets at Bills. Ugh. So it's not a fired head coach game, but it is a fired offensive coordinator.
Honestly, if the Bills hadn't fired Ken Dorsey, I was going to pick the Jets.
Yeah.
But Buffalo it is now.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Bills as well. I'm not feeling great about it though. If the Bills lose this game, though, it's full panic. Like,
If they lose this game, how secure is Sean McDermott's job?
yeah, that's definitely when it starts coming into question. Yep. Seahawks at Rams. Do we know?
Well, the Rams beat them week 1.
Do we know if Matt Stafford's still out?
I think he might play. I think, but I can't with 100% certainty say whether he is or not.
Yeah. The Seahawks are a little sketchy this year, but I'm gonna stick with the Seahawks. I think they get revenge for week 1.
As will I, yeah.
Yeah. God, we were picking like almost entirely in unison.
Did Steven pick him too?
Yep, we picked him as well.
We're either going to all look really good or we're all going to look like dumbasses.
Yeah, it'd be really funny if we all went like 0-12.
At least I wouldn't lose more ground on you two.
Oh, true, yeah. Actually, yeah, the only games we've disagreed on so far were Bengals, Ravens, and and Packers, Chargers. Vikings at Broncos.
Wow, this is a completely different game than it was a month ago.
I mean, you know where I'm going with this one.
Oh my god.
They say that a QB can save us without even knowing the plays.
That high harmony hurt my
Josh
voice.
Dobbs is throwing a
I can imagine.
touchdown, winning the Vikings the game.
It sounds pretty good for on the spot fucking around though. I got to be honest.
I did a few too many takes of that. I put a little too much craftsmanship into it.
I think that one came out better than the Greg Dortch one did.
Yeah, I didn't harmonize at all in the Greg Dortch one. Yeah. Steven took the Broncos, so fuck
I'm
that
going
guy.
Vikings.
Hell yeah.
I think there's a chance Jefferson might be back. I don't know for sure, but maybe.
Yeah. And then finally, Monday night, Eagles at Chiefs. This is two Titans facing off.
I gotta be honest, the Chiefs, while they are 7-2, they don't have that same it factor that they had last year to me.
No.
They seem like a more vulnerable team than they were. They're still good, obviously, but they seem way more beatable, and it seems like people might be figuring some of their stuff out. I'm going to go with the Eagles in this one in the Super Bowl rematch.
What's funny is you could say a lot of the same stuff about the Eagles too, but I think the Eagles offense has been just a little bit better. But
it feels like the Patriots game was like not a get right game, but the Patriots one was on, oh shit, we really can't start this year slow, and they kind of fixed everything after that.
It was kind of a wake up call, yeah.
I mean, I remember at the beginning of the year they lost that game by like 4, and everyone was like, man, did the Eagles fall off, or are the Patriots better than we thought? And now it just looks like, how the fuck was it even that close?
Yeah, for sure. Steven had the Eagles as well. I'm going to take the Chiefs to be different. I think
unbelievable.
But the Chiefs defense is fucking killing it right now. So
they are.
And for my lock, yeah, I'll lock the Lions. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Go Lions.
But yeah, the Chiefs ending that Chris Jones holdout was a huge gain for them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's one of those holdouts that I've kind of like forgotten about.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, that was a thing. So, yeah, and that was pick.
Don't do what Le'Veon Bell did.
Oh, what was that?
Said don't do what Le'Veon Bell did and hold out for an entire year and then wreck your career. But you know,
we'll have Jack's picks hopefully if he sends them in, and I'm hoping we get the Jack rant. If not, he was mad.
I think mad is the understatement of the year.
Yeah. I, even as like not a dedicated Buffalo Bills fan, I was saying that they should fire everybody. So
I'm a fan of their most hated rival, and I still think that they should have fired him.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
that was Oofsides.
Because if you ask me, right, if the entire AFC East combines to not win a Super Bowl while the Patriots are this bad, it'll be the funniest fucking shit ever.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is like the opportunity all of them have been waiting for 20 years,
Yeah.
and then to completely stumble over everything is
It would
a
be so
disaster.
fitting because
Yeah.
they've all bitched and whined and moaned about the Patriots shit stomping them for 20 fucking years, and now that's over. So it would be even funnier if they don't win now that they're out of the way.
Oh my
They are a
God.
non-factor and probably will be for the next 3 or 4 years. It's like if they don't do it now, when are they?
Yep. And on that note, I think that's the end of the show.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts?
Fuck the NCAA again. I'm still mad
Yeah,
about
fuck
that.
the NCAA.
Some horse cock.
Okay, cool. Thanks. My mic didn't pick up like half of that.
First Swag Kazakage, leader of the Hidden Village of the Dean.
I still can't believe you have that memorized. Oh god, what's the last song I added? Oh, okay, I guess the Tickle Belt theme song from SpongeBob is gonna be our outro music. So, hey, thanks for listening to Oofsides this week. We'll see you next time.
You should do that every week. It's a good show.
It does fit the show, yeah.
You'll lose brain cells, but you'll gain football knowledge, and that's what matters.
Yeah, but I mean, if you made it this far, probably already lost those brain cells.
Yeah, just commit to the bit now.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching!